Hello, Silver friends. This is Joli from Quicksilver Hair, and this is my friend
Katie from Katie Goes Platinum.
And this is the Silver Thread. Tonight we're discussing Katie's hair. We are going to do a faux consultation, if you will. I know a lot about Katie's hair already because we're friends. However, we thought we could go through my typical questionnaire for a full hair consultation. Katie does suffer with some issues with yellowing, even though she's kind of doing everything right. So we might find something out tonight that we didn't know, and hopefully that will help her with this issue. So Katie, tell me a little bit about what's going on.
Okay, as you know, I love my silver hair. I'm very happy with it, even though it looks a little, unkempt today. I didn't do much with it, but I love it. I think very good care of it. I use products with all the correct ingredients. I have very hard water at home, so I have a shower filter on my shower head that I use to try to filter out the impurities. I cover my hair every time I leave the house. I do all these things, and yet I still get yellowing, especially on the ends.
Okay, so that is part of my questionnaire. Sometimes I do these consultations and I am not looking at the person. We'll do it just over the phone. So some of my questions have to do with me not being able to see somebody. But in this case, I can see you. But it's good to know where your yellowing is because it gives me clues as to what kind of is going on. When you have yellowing, like say just central to the top of your head, often that is sun damage or water damage, where the water from your shower head, you lean back and that's the first place that you hit your hair with water. That can often be seen with yellowing just around the crown area. Often when your hair is yellowing at the ends and you have longer hair, it's oxidative stress. However, it can be a combination of things. So we're going to go ahead and keep going with that. I'm going to be taking my glasses on and off. I hope that doesn't bother everybody. So you were saying that it's at the ends.
It's mainly at the ends. And then sometimes I also wonder how much of it is just my natural brown hair coming through. My natural hair was dark brown, almost black, and you can see it here. I see what looks to me like a lot of yellowing, but it seems it's also like warm brown tones. I don't remember what my hair looked like because it's been so long since I dyed it. And then
you dyed your hair a cool black, right?
I dyed my hair a very dark brown, almost burgundy sometimes because I like to have that extra red in there. And then it would fade to a warm brown.
Same. So you bring up an interesting point that with your white hair, it's reflective, right? So it's going to reflect colors around it, including your own darker hair. So sometimes there is no issue with yellowing. It's just the reflection of the natural color of all of the colors in your hair. So for instance, I have this white streak, and right behind it, right in here, I have a tiny, it's probably 15 hairs that are brown still, and they will blend in with my white streak every now and then, and I will drive myself insane all day long going, is my hair turning yellow? Is it turning yellow? It looks kind of yellow, because it's reflecting and it's picking up that color, and sometimes it just does it more than others. For instance, like with my hair straight, I can really see it because that streak is also straight, the little brown streak, so it just kind of shows up a little bit more. So I think that sometimes we chase an issue that's not there, and you're right there, like looking right at it, and it's reflecting off of something, and you're going to go crazy over it. However, you can see like in photos and stuff like that where it's kind of coming up and you can't quite figure out why or what's happening. So I think that that's something to be mindful of. I have a test that I recommend on my site to actually see if you have yellowing, and that is to take, like, for instance, this is my white streak, which I've picked up the brown too. You can see it right there. But you do an end test. So you fold the end of that same hair to the root and compare it. Now, right now in here with these lights and a warm window shining on me, I can't see that. I can't see, but in a north window, in a north facing window, you're going to get the coolest light. So if you can go to full day sun, a north facing window with a little mirror, and fold that hair up and see what you've got going on, you can get a true idea of whether you've actually got yellowing at the ends of your hair or not. Because if your white roots are showing and they look really white, you'll be able to tell by comparison.
Yeah, I know you told me that in the past, and it's true. If I won't do it now because, like you, I've got warm light coming through my windows right now. But if I do that, if I flip my ends up, this is silver, and the ends are kind of a honey gold color.
Maybe a champagne color?
Yeah, like a champagne color. So.
Okay. All right. Let's get started with the main questionnaire, and we'll see what we discover.
Okay.
When was your last haircut?
I'm embarrassed to say it was over 4 months ago. I try to go every 2 months, but time got away from me. So.
Okay. And you have long hair.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know if your hair is fine or coarse? Or somewhere in between?
I took your test and it was fine. So.
Fine. Okay. So just for reference for those watching, when we talk about fine hair or coarse hair, we're talking about the actual diameter of a single strand. So to determine whether you have fine hair or coarse hair, you want to take one strand of hair, watch mine disappear, and you take one strand in between your fingers and close your eyes. If you're looking at it, you tend to think you can see it, so you have a visual plus you think you can feel it, so it kind of disrupts the test. But if you close your eyes and feel between your fingers, if you can feel the hair distinctly like a thread, you have coarse hair. If you can kind of feel it and you know it's there, you have medium hair. If you can barely feel it or not feel it at all, you have fine hair. So our next question is your hair thick or thin in density?
I'm trying to look up my notes here because I recently discovered, thanks to you, I think it was medium density.
Okay, so let's go through the test so that we can share with everybody how you do that. So Katie, you have a ponytail holder. Yes. Okay. So take your hair and pull it back completely. Just pull it back completely. Okay. So for me, I've done this so many times and for so long that I can just grip around the ponytail and come out. And I can tell you by how large that circle is, what it is. Mine's fine because it's about the size of a nickel or a dime. But you need to do the ponytail holder so that you can actually feel you have more hair than I do. So, so put your hair in your ponytail.
Okay.
Okay. And then go back like I just did and go to the ponytail holder right below it.
Okay.
So if it's, good and tight against the back of your neck, go right below it and just hold that position as best you can and pull it through. Pull your hair out of your fingers.
I have one question. Like normally when I wear a ponytail holder, I would put it around twice to make sure it's tight. It's not super tight right now. Do I need to do that or that?
No, all you're doing is making sure that your hair is together.
Okay.
Ponytail holder. Okay. There's another way to do this test. If you have a soft tape measure, you would take the ponytail holder and just kind of slide it down about the width of your fingers. And then where you've left that space between your skull and the ponytail holder, you would wrap the tape measure around that. And you could tell by the tape measure because there's some measurements. If you go over to my website and look at the hair type ultimate guide, the measurements are broken down in there to tell you which density your hair is. So we know that, go ahead and show us, go ahead and come back like that. And that you're probably about a quarter, about the size of a quarter?
Maybe John F. Kennedy or
a little bit more than a quarter?
Yeah, a little bit more than a quarter.
So that is medium density hair. So you saw mine is like this tiny, people think I have a ton of hair and I have to wrap the ponytail holder around like 3 or 4 times. So just for perspective, that is, and not straight, so it's even finer looking, but all right. So we know you have medium density hair and you have actually naturally wavy hair, right?
I do. I straightened it the other day for videos, but if I let it just dry on its own, it's pretty wavy.
Okay. And do you know your porosity?
Yes, I think if I remember right, it was low porosity. I'm sorry that I don't have my notes. Can you hold one second? Let me find it because I wrote it down.
That's okay. So let's explain it. How you can tell whether you have low porosity, medium porosity, or high porosity. So my general rule of thumb here is that it is about how long it takes your hair to dry. That's one of the easiest ways to tell. For some people, they use how quickly does your hair get wet. But for some of us, like me, with fine hair, my hair gets wet relatively quickly because I don't have much of it. But with certain hair types, the water can repel off of the hair and it can take a little while for it to soak water up. That is generally considered low porosity hair. However, you could have really high density hair and it would still take a long time for your hair to get wet. So I don't particularly like the how long does it take your hair to get wet test for porosity. A more accurate one for me is how long does it take for your hair to dry? So when you air dry your hair, Katie, how long does it take for your hair to dry?
Okay, that's a good. I would say 7 hours. I mean, it takes forever for my hair to dry. It takes a long time.
So 7 hours is an incredibly long time, and that does mean you have low porosity hair. So higher porosity hair is not something that there's an argument in the hair community about that high porosity hair is only damaged hair. That your hair, when it emerges from the root, is naturally low porosity, which makes sense because the cuticle is not damaged. It hasn't seen the world. It hasn't been affected by sun or water or heat or any of those things that affect the cuticle and change that porosity. It has no oxidative stress because it's brand new. It just emerged. However, doing this, and I used to believe that. I used to believe that there's no way you can have high porosity coming straight out the root of your head. I don't believe that anymore because I have worked with people through these consultations who have very high porosity hair, and it's just how their hair grows. It's just the way their hair is. And when I say very high, I mean that it's drying in between you putting shampoo and conditioner in your hair. So you rinse the shampoo out and you go to put conditioner in your hair, and it's already feeling a little dry. That's high porosity hair. It's drying like that.
Wow, that's so interesting. Are those people the kind that have trouble rinsing products out of their hair?
No, it's more, I think some of them have a coarser hair type.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe not actually soaking up all of the water. Now that goes right back to what we were talking about, that people use how fast does it take your hair to get wet? Mm-hmm. And it may be that the core of the hair, like the water is not soaking all the way in.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of creating this, it's natural barrier of some sort in the density and the coarseness of the individual hair strand. I have never laid my fingers on exactly what's going on, but if you think about, like, Einstein had uncombable hair. There is hair that emerges from your head, and it, certain genetics, certain problems can arise that are to do with the follicle and the health of the follicle. So I think that, all things are actually possible, and we can't just rule out and say all silver hair is low porosity, which is what I used to believe, and it's not true. And then the next issue is that what you might notice when your hair is air drying is that the ends of your hair dry very quickly compared to the rest of your hair. And that is that from about here, the porosity changes. Your hair is getting older and drier and more porous. So as that happens, the porosity has become medium and sometimes can get to high depending on how much, sun damage it has, how much, like if you swim or certain things like that. So it can raise the porosity with environmental damage, oxidative stress. There's a myriad of things when it comes to long hair that can cause the ends to become medium porosity. So there are times in my life when, if I haven't been really hyper-focused on caring for the lengths of my hair, that it can get higher porosity. The ends, definitely. I mean, there's just nothing you can do about it. If you think about how old your ends are, right? If your hair grows, half an inch a month? Is that what they say?
Yeah.
So you get, 6 inches a year? Mm-hmm. So if you go this year, the year before that, the ends of your hair, like my ends are like from 2020, right? So it's kind of gross. It's old hair. And it's dead. I mean, It emerges from your head and it has no life force in it. So it can't repair itself. It can't add nutrients to itself, you know, so you have to provide for it and to preserve it, because you literally have to preserve what's dead, right? You can't just, I don't want to be macabre, but anyway.
Suddenly I feel like I need to cut all my hair off. I don't know.
No, it's just a matter of, we don't think about those things. We don't think about that this hair down here is from 5 years ago when you have really long hair, or 10 years ago. I've met women that have hair, you know, down past their bum, and it's very old hair, and it has to be treated very differently. So, okay, moving on to the next question. How does your hair feel? And I have a few adjectives here, but you can tell me how it feels first before I provide any for you.
Okay, well, it feels silky.
Silky, okay.
Yeah.
Does it feel soft?
Yes.
Does it feel dry?
Even on the ends, which I know are drier, it doesn't feel that dry.
It doesn't feel dry. Okay, so that's something we want to look for. If you, even if like you hadn't had a haircut in a while, and you know that, hey, it's time for a haircut, and I just haven't done this in a while. If your ends feel dry, get a haircut. Because one of the things that happens with especially long hair and that old piece of, that old section at the ends, is that it can do just like a rope. And once it starts fraying, like getting split ends, once it starts doing this, it'll travel up the strand of the hair. So you'll have it doing that all the way up the hair. And then you're damaging all your hair by avoiding haircuts. So avoiding haircuts is not a bad thing. It's just a matter of that you need to pay attention to what's going on there. You know, you need to take a close look at your ends regularly.
It's funny because we talked about this in our episode 1 of this podcast. And ever since I'm like, I gotta get in and get this cut because I don't want the split ends to travel up. Luckily, I'm going in on Tuesday, and I thought I'd have her take off about 4 inches just to get rid of some of these dry ends.
You can take, like, we're both sitting in front of bright lights right now. You can take and just kind of look up at your ends. And if you see any splits, then it's time for a haircut. I don't have any because I just gave myself a haircut. But
I wish I could do that, but I'm not gifted like you are.
I don't know. Sometimes I have to spend about a week cutting my hair.
The last time I gave somebody a haircut was my son, who was about 3, and my husband, who's the sweetest man in the world, never criticizes me, came in the room. I said, "What do you think of his haircut?" And he said, "Did you cut his hair in the dark?" It really looked bad. It was bad.
Oops. Was that the curly head child?
No, it was a straight one. I thought that would be easier.
Actually, curly hair hides a multitude of sins. So curly hair would have been easier. All right. So you normally wear your hair straight, correct?
I do. What I usually do is I only blow it out like this every so often because I'm trying to avoid, you know.
So you do blow it out with a blow dryer?
I blow it out maybe once a month, not that much. And then most of the time what I do now is I just let it air dry. I brush it, put whatever products I want it. I just let it air dry. And if I don't like the way it looks, I put a heatless curler on, or I'll put my hair in space buns and let it dry like that. For the most part, I can let my hair air dry now, which I couldn't when my hair was dyed because it was so frizzy.
Okay. So air drying it, you are able to, it goes straight by itself, or you?
It's still kind of wavy. It's not defined waves. Do you know what I mean? Like if I want it to look a certain way, I have to put a heatless curler in it.
Okay.
Otherwise it's very minimal waves, I guess, really.
Okay. So I mentioned Atoya Bass in the last video, and she has a word for silky roots, which means that your hair is so silky that you can't get volume, which I have silky roots. That's why I have a flat top all the time. And I can dry my hair upside down. I can do all of the things to make all of the volume. And by the time the day is out, it is flat again. And that is the nature of silky roots. But silky roots aren't just at the root. If you have silky hair, it's soft and it tends to, weigh itself down. So what you're experiencing sounds very typical of a very loose, wavy person. If you're not focusing on making it wavy, it's dropping its pattern before the day is out because it has nothing to help hold that pattern in place. So that's where your struggle is with the hairstyles staying. For you need some real good hold power something that's really going to hold it. And that can cause yellowing if you're using too much of the wrong thing, like hairsprays and so forth that can, and I didn't see hairspray on your list of products.
No, as you know, I have some sensory issues, so I can't stand the feeling of hairspray or gel. So I don't really use any styling products.
Yeah. I use hairspray so often that today when I went to spray my hair with hairspray, the can was broken and it sputtered out. I realized that it was old and it had, like the propellant had died in it. And I was like, well, oops. So I lost how I styled my hair today because I didn't have any hairspray to hold it. But anyway, all right. So do you have any scalp conditions? No itching, no dandruff, nothing like that. Okay.
Nope.
So the reason I ask this question is that often people are using their scalp treatments and don't realize that it could be something that's contributing, because maybe you've had a scalp condition all your life and that's just something you've done all your life, right? And you just don't think about that it could be the thing that could be contributing to your hair changing color. So no scalp conditions. Any hair loss?
As you know, I when I was going through skin cancer treatments last year, I got so stressed out, I lost a lot of hair at my temples. So it's coming back now because I'm using it.
I can see you've got baby growth, baby hairs.
Yeah. It's been coming back.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I've been using that root ROUSER from Silvering, and it seems like it's really working, which is nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Baby hair.
I may have to get some stuff from Alexis for, it's Alexis, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I may have to get some of that from her for after my summer. Anyway, I keep going through all these things and I just keep having hair loss and hair loss and hair loss. I'm like, my goodness. Okay. So you are not experiencing any of that right now.
No.
And you have no dye remaining on your hair.
Nope.
How often do you wash your hair?
I don't know why, but over the years, it's gotten less and less. When I was younger, of course, when you have all the hormones, I wash my hair once a week or once a day. Now I wash it once or twice a week, depending.
So that's pretty normal, because after you go through menopause, the sebum production decreases on your scalp, so you're not as oily. So there's a lot of people that find that they can get away with washing their hair less often. I never had oily scalp. I've always had dry scalp. So what ends up happening to me is I start itching. So I have to wash just to stop itching. I have to get some conditioner back on my scalp because my scalp is all dried out. So it does change for women, especially between the ages of 40 and 60. It starts to change at about 40 and it changes again at 60. So you may find that you'll be washing your hair even less.
Actually, that would be great because it takes so long to dry that I don't love it.
You can only spend 1 day a week drying your hair. So 1 to 2 times a week is what you said, right? Okay. Do you swim?
Only in the summer, but obviously I haven't really swam since last summer.
Swam. Okay. And you swim in a chlorinated pool?
Yes, I take your advice whenever I do that. I don't know if you want to share what you told me to do, but you've got great advice on that.
So my advice on swimming is to wet your hair before you get in the water with, go through the shower in the gym or whatever that is attached to the pool, and wet your hair completely. That way your hair is already full of water and it doesn't naturally, you go in the water. If you go in the pool with dry hair, it will immediately, soak your hair with chlorinated water, and that chlorine will cling to your hair. You can also apply conditioner to your hair to help, protect it from the chlorine, or you can use an oil, like my squalane oil works really well. Our mutual friend, Joni, that is with us at the Silver Revolution, uses the squalane oil to coat her hair before she goes in the pool. Or she did. I don't know if she's still swimming like she was, but that was her method, was to use my oil and then put her cap on. So there's a couple of ways to deal with it, but the idea is that you do not want to dive into a swimming pool with dry silver hair, because it will immediately grab everything in the water.
Yeah, I'm so glad you told me that. And so now I'm always careful not to do that.
All right. So I'm going to put rarely there, and that you properly, so we're not going to assume that it's swimming. If you swam every day, I might be kind of thinking that would be the issue. Okay, so you go out in the sun. How often?
Well, as you know, I live in Southern California, and it's hard to avoid the sun here.
Yeah.
But I go out in the sun. Actually, it's embarrassing to admit it, but because I work from home and I'm working pretty much all day, I only probably go out in the sun twice a day, and I never got in the sun without a hat because I've got prone to skin cancer, and I also know that it can damage my hair, so it's always tucked up under. I put it in a bun. I put it under my hat.
Okay. Yeah. So theoretically, you are protecting your hair from the sun, and you do use a product. I think you use the Seam blowout cream. Is that correct?
Yeah, I use the Seam blowout cream, and if for some weird reason I'm not going to wear a hat, I spray the Coola Mist on top of my hair so that I have both of them in combination.
Okay, so this is worth reiterating, is that the Coola Mist has UV filters for the hair and SPF for the skin. So it's great for those of us like myself who will get a sunburn in my part. You want to spray it in your part line so that you get the sunscreen on your scalp. But you're doing that correctly. In my opinion, the best and most effective way to protect yourself from the sun is to cover yourself with a hat. They know, for instance, like at the skin cancer, skincancer.org or something like that, their recommendation is the best protection is to cover yourself completely with a hat and UV rated clothing so that you're actually covering your skin completely.
I always tell you, I think I'm the crazy woman of the neighborhood because I have this giant hat, and I could be out there wearing an outfit that does not go with it. I don't care. I also have an umbrella that is, I don't know where it is. I usually keep it over here, but it's a UV. It's not for rain. It's for sun. So it's a UV protector.
A UV filtering umbrella. Mm-hmm. So that's great. And that tells me that unlikely for it to be sun damage. All right. What kind of towel do you use to dry your hair?
I use I think it might be one that you know about too, the Aquas hair towel. I think can't remember what it's made out of, but it's
microfiber.
Microfiber. I wrap my hair in that for about 20 minutes before I let it dry.
This is a strange question, but bear with me. Is your towel feeling rough?
Yes.
Okay. It's time to replace that towel.
Okay.
And I have a better suggestion for you than the Aquas, because that was a long time ago that I recommended that towel to you. And I really prefer, for low porosity hair in particular, I prefer a Double-Ply t-shirt material towel. We can link one. I'll link the newest one that I've found. I'm actually got one coming because the one I was using has, it's hard to get it. They typically have like odd colors or they, are out of stock on stuff. So I found another one, but it's basically 2-ply t-shirt. So it's 2 pieces put together and sewn together. I find those to be the most effective. And then the t-shirt material is very smooth, right? So, and it doesn't get rough over time. It gets softer over time. And that was one of my big issues with the Aquas towels, was that the more you wash them, the rougher they get, which completely defeats the purpose of using a microfiber towel. Because the reason we moved to microfiber towels is that terry cloth has that loop in it, and that loop gets rough, and that causes mechanical damage on the hair. And I would say that Aquas microfiber does the same thing. I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but their towels just don't last very long. At first, they're nice and soft, but after a little while, they get kind of rough and they feel stiff. And I think that the t-shirt actually works a little better. If you have high porosity hair, there's another microfiber towel that's like silk, and it is the perfect hair care towel. And I think that one's really good for people where their hair dries pretty quickly, because it's real thin microfiber, so it can only soak up so much water, right? So for those of us with low porosity hair that have soaking wet hair, it's only going to soak up so much. I would come out of that towel and my hair would still be wet. But if you do have higher porosity hair, that's a good towel to check out. I have a video on my channel, we can link it below, of the differences between microfiber towels and which ones I find to be of most benefit.
So glad you said this, because you just reminded me, when I first went gray, I did have t-shirt towels I loved. And then when that one finally, kicks the bucket, if a towel can kick the bucket, they stopped making it. And I tried a couple others and I didn't like them. So I'm eager to try the one that you
That's, I mean, I'm going to probably going off topic here, but that is one of my biggest issues with towel companies is it's like they'll make this fantastic towel and then all of a sudden they disappear.
Right.
I had these beautiful and just wonderful 2-ply t-shirt towels, and they were these huge squares. I mean, just massive squares, and they were perfect for long hair. And I would even turn them into a triangle and use it as a triangle to wrap around my head because they were so big, and I got, 4-ply out of it.
Yeah.
But they disappeared. I can't get them anymore, and they were the perfect towel. It's just one of those things you kind of have to hope you can find one company that'll continue making the same thing. I did order a towel recently. I'll warn you, some of them, they're saying they're t-shirt material on Amazon, and they're really, really thin. Like I kind of went, I don't know that I could even wash my face with this, much less soak up any water out of my hair. That's something to be aware of. The Double-Ply is the best, I think.
Okay, that's good to know. So
it will help with your hair drying a little faster too, because you're actually soaking up some of that water.
That'd be great.
Okay, so that does bring me to a point about water. We're going to start talking about water next, which I know you have hard water. Do you know if it's well water or city water or?
I'm assuming it's city water. I live in a suburb of LA. I'm pretty sure it's city water. We live on bedrock. I don't think they could have a well here, even if they wanted to. So
unless there's a spring somewhere. Okay. You have hard water. Have you ever tested it to see how hard it is?
No, I don't actually know how to do that. I would love to know.
Okay. What I'm doing is I am searching your city, state, and the words water authority. Your water authority is public information. And so all of the water authorities have a website where you can go and look at things like how hard your water is.
Okay.
And hopefully I'm on the right one here.
As long as it's not Colorado, because there's the same city name in both places.
It says California. So
okay,
let me see.
Yeah, our water is so hard that I think some emergency sign will come up when you find it on there.
Well, their website is not the most easy. So that is something that happens. You can search for your water authority and not be able to find it on their website because they aren't easy to navigate and user friendly. So your water is considered hard due to high levels of calcium and magnesium.
Okay. So
of course you would, if you wanted to test it, you can buy test kits and test it yourself. You can usually believe your water authority that they do know what they're talking about. The next question about your water is how old is your home and do you know what kind of pipes you have?
Oh boy, as we rent this house. As far as I understand, I think this house is from the 1940s. Mm-hmm. And I think the pipes are probably kind of old.
Galvanized maybe?
Probably. I mean, I've never seen them. I mean, I know nothing about plumbing or anything.
That's okay. I mean, a lot of people don't, but if you do know. So here's the thing. In an older home, galvanized pipes, one of the reasons why we stopped using galvanized pipes is they have iron in them. And that comes through the pipeline. And you have that come out your water because it's slowly eroding that pipe over years and years and years of water coming through it. So you can actually have not so hard a water, but live in an old house with old pipes. And by the time the water reaches your shower head and you use it to wash your hair, it's picked up things along the way in the piping of the home. So I have thought for a while now that it is your home and your water. And you said you do not, wait, you didn't tell me this. Do you have a whole house filter or a softener?
No, we don't have a whole house one. I do use the AquaBliss, but
no softener.
No softener. Okay. But we do use, the screw-on AquaBliss shower head. However, to be fully honest, we always forget to change the filters. I know you're supposed to change the filter once a month. And
no, not once a month. That's too much.
Okay. How often is it supposed to be?
So I would say with your water being hard and you do have the older pipes, I would say at least once every 3 months.
Okay. I still think we probably missed out on it a couple of times. I need to find out where I can buy a big pack. I usually end up buying one at a time and then I forget, so I need to.
One thing you can do if you are getting them from Amazon, which I know a lot of people aren't shopping on Amazon, but you can do the subscribe and save
Mhm.
and have them send it to you. And then it's a nice little visual cue that, oh, it's time to change this.
Right.
I change mine at the same time I change my refrigerator filters because my refrigerator tells me to change the filter. So that's how I know to change mine. So that's a valid thing to pay attention to, is making sure that if you do have the filter that you are changing it, because what happens is when they blow out, it has no ability to filter anymore. Do you clarify your hair with what and how often?
Okay, I do clarify my hair once a week. I try not to use products with silicones and things, but every so often I will. So just in case, once a week or so, or every 2 weeks, I use Malibu Undo Goo clarifying shampoo. Here, there, you can see it. So.
Okay, so that's all you use? That's the only clarifying shampoo you use?
Well, there's the other one I use sometimes, but it's been out of stock for a while. I think it was called the Aveda Detoxifying Shampoo. I need to find it.
Oh, that one, I think they discontinued it, didn't they?
And I loved it. It made my hair so bright. My hairdresser will get it for me on the sly, but it's not easy.
Here's one of your problems. Okay, we've nailed something here, and this is really important because the coloring that you have that you're fighting is on the ends. It tells me that the minerals are attaching to that little bit higher porosity older hair.
Okay.
So with your older hair, you already are going to battle oxidative stress. That's something that if I have any yellowing at all, it's oxidative stress, and there's anything I can do about it, right? Like that's life. So one of the things that you are doing that needs to shift is you're using a clarifying shampoo that is for product buildup, but it doesn't have anything in it for mineral buildup. You've got mineral buildup. So, and I know that because you have hard water, you have these old pipes, you live in California. It's kind of like you just can't not have it. And I believe your daily shampoo is the By the Way shampoo. Yes, is that correct?
Okay. Yeah, I've got the daily shampoo and conditioner from By the Way company.
Okay, I don't remember what's in their shampoo, but I do not think there's any chelating ingredients in there. That would be something that I would really shift and change, is a shampoo that for your water will have the chelating ingredients to help combat the minerals.
Okay. Would that be the Scene shampoo?
The Scene shampoo is a good one for daily because it does have chelating ingredients in it. And I mean, you could still use your daily shampoo from the By the Way company. I just wouldn't use that every wash day. I would be using something that does have a little bit of chelating ingredients in it. I'd like to verify whether that shampoo has chelating ingredients in it or not, because I know they did a really nice job with that formula. So let me look. I believe I have their website right here. Hold on, because I love Lauren.
I love Lauren. Lauren, if you're watching this, I want to see you next time in Michigan. She's such a doll. She's wonderful.
She is. So no, their formula does not have a primary chelating ingredient in it. So while it's great for a daily shampoo, it is not great for keeping this issue at bay. And it's a really good, effective shampoo. However, I would suggest with your hard water that you find one like Scene. What happened with me is that I was having a battle with yellowing that I couldn't pinpoint. And I went through, I would use my mask once a week, and that didn't do anything. And I would clarify, and I would try different shampoos, and I would, rinse my hair in vinegar and baking soda and all the things. And I never could get that hue to go away because I had a champagne kind of hue to the ends of my hair for a long time. And it was kind of accidental that the Scene shampoo fixed that. And it took a while. It took a little while before I really noticed that it was starting to lighten up and lighten up and lighten up. So that would be my suggestion, is the Scene shampoo. And I do like their deeper conditioner for long hair and for silver hair because it is a little bit more conditioning. Their original formula conditioner is just a tiny bit not enough. Like I've always felt like I had to use a whole lot of it because my hair just like soaked it right up. So I found that their deeper conditioner, which is not deep conditioner, it's just the name of the formula being more moisturizing, more conditioning, Of course, it's up to you. The great thing is they have the trial sizes, so you can always just try whichever one and see which one you like the best. But I would give it a try. I'd give it like a 6-month try and just see what happens.
Luckily I have them here because I've been meaning to test them. I haven't done it yet. So here's my routine right now is once a week or so, I wash my hair with the daily shampoo and conditioner. And then the next shampoo, which is usually that week or maybe a little later, I do a clarifying, and then just the same thing with the regular conditioner. So like every third time use the Scene shampoo, like, or what do you think?
Okay, so you may find you don't need the clarifying shampoo, the undo goo anymore. That's what happened for me. The Scene shampoo was cleansing enough and I didn't get any buildup from the conditioner. So I didn't need the buildup remover that's in undo goo.
Oh, right. You said something similar when we started this section. You're right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of could be that you use that like once a month, your undo goo, just to get, you know, all of your styling products and your leave-ins and all that build up off of your hair, if you should notice that you're having an issue with it. For me, I now do my own mask about once every 3 months. And I do it with, I've started using the Ordinary shampoo because it has a little bit of sulfate in it. It has a chelating ingredient in it. For me, it feels like a clarifying shampoo, but it's gentle. Okay. It's like non-stripping. And I mix the clay with their conditioner now, and my hair felt so good the last time I used it. I was like, what? It was funny. I was going to do a review on my own product. Like, I couldn't believe how good my hair felt, you know, and it's funny that we go through stuff like that we use regularly and you kind of switch it up and then you go, oh, wow, that was even better. Right. So I think you kind of have a habitual situation going on where you have habitually used the same thing over and over again without realizing that it wasn't achieving what you needed it to achieve. And that's normal. We get like, I have this set of products and I'm going to use them up, you know, or this is what I like and I just stick with it. So I think that's probably the biggest issue you have. I typically go through a little bit more with this interview, and it covers medical issues, medications, some lifestyle things, you know, like, are you out horseback riding or motorcycle riding? And I know you don't do those two things, but is there anything else that you've suspected might be?
Well, one thing is, as you were talking about how old our hair is, it was like, you know, in 2018, I went on a 65-mile canoe trip in Louisiana, and one of the places we stayed in this national park or state park had iron in the water, and when the water came out, it was brown. It was gross. And it smelled, and I was like, is it possible that I still have 2018 hair down here that's taking on the brownness from that? I wonder.
You get your hair regularly cut. I do.
So. Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's fun to blame it on something else.
I doubt that, because that would be a little too old unless your hair was much longer and you were only cutting off a tiny little bit here and there, you know, through the years. So I would doubt that unless your hair suddenly went through some very slow growth stage that, like, it slowed way down and you just didn't realize it or something. But that's unusual. That's a very unusual thing to have happen. And you not notice it, you know. But
I was trying to think of other activities and things. Everything I do, like I said, if I'm outside, I have a hat.
So with like sudden changes, like all of a sudden you go, my hair was fine for years, and then all of a sudden it changed. I would typically look at, did you change into a new hobby? Did you start mowing the lawn? Did you start, you know, like, we often like take on a task or something that's outside, or maybe we've moved and we've changed homes. We don't even think about it. We don't think about that the water changed, that the pipes changed, that, you know, something there gave way, or that your health changed some dramatic way. So if you were to notice like a sudden change, or it felt sudden, I would say, look at, was it 6 months ago? So you could say to me, yes, I noticed about 6 months ago, it was around Christmas, say, or whatever. And I noticed that suddenly I had this hue to my hair that I'd never had. Then we would go back to then and like discuss what's changed, what changed in your life. Did you change products? Did you change your hair tools? Like, did you get a new hair dryer? Or, you know, you just kind of have to go roll back and look back over your shoulder at that time. Sometimes it's very difficult to do depending on what's going on in your life. And, you know, some of us can't remember what we had for breakfast yesterday. So it's, you know, it's kind of tricky, but that is something to think about. If you're watching this and you're thinking, but I had never had this problem until 3 or 4 months ago or 6 months ago or last year, is go back then and see what was going on and what changed.
Yeah, pretty much since I went gray, I've had this issue, especially since my hair got longer. But one thing I did that I know was wrong now is there was a certain product I used when I used to use that Revlon One Step, which would get too hot. I know that now. For me, it was too hot on my fine hair. But I remember it kind of caramelized. I could see the brown and gold after I used it with a certain product. I can't remember what it was. And so, now I'm very careful with all of that.
Yeah. The other thing about hot brushes is not only is it the heat that you are creating damage with, but you're creating mechanical damage with the brushing through, and people get kind of violent with those things. They're like ripping it through their hair and they're being really tough and they're pulling really hard and they do it repeatedly. So that repeated mechanical damage can also contribute to yellowing because you're breaking the hair, you're drying it out, and that dry broken hair is going to grab onto anything in its path and become discolored. So there's a multi-layered issue if you are using a hot brush. My favorite hot brush is from Paul Mitchell. It's their Neuro line, and it doesn't have any of the bristles, like the bristles that are in the Revlon? Revlon.
I think it's Revlon.
The Revlon hot brush. I used that, and it was literally pulling my hair out.
Yeah.
And I went, I can't do this. I don't have enough hair to be pulling out. So I really did like the idea of having a brush. So I did quite a few reviews on hot brushes. I found several that I really liked, and there were various issues with them that I couldn't use them regularly. And I finally landed on the Paul Mitchell Neuro brush. And I find that it does not tear up my hair as I'm brushing through because it doesn't have any bristles. It has brush tongs instead.
Oh, nice.
Instead of like the boar bristle kind of bristles. So if you still want a brush like that, that would be the one I would recommend.
Okay, good.
And it has good heat controls on it too. So, all right. So that would be how a consultation with me goes. And after this, I would normally send you a long list of recommended products, but I think we pretty much covered here that you are probably a really good candidate for the Scene products, and give them a try for a few months and see if some of this starts to lighten up.
Okay, great. Because I love the look of having the all silver hair. So when I try not to get obsessed with it, but I see the yellow, I'm like, no. So I like it.
I know, I get it. And of course, I mean, my whole business is predicated on helping people to solve this problem. And it's such a nuanced issue. Listen to this questionnaire. And I didn't even go through the final 15 questions with you because I knew coming into this, that we were probably looking at water, that was probably the thing. And given that your hair takes so long to dry, you're leaving that water staying there for a really long time, right? It's not evaporating. So you look at I like to do the comparison of all fiber, no matter what type, is susceptible to water damage. So think about it from the perspective of setting a wet glass down on a piece of wood. That wood is fiber. And once that water goes in and creates that ring, you can't get it out. You can't pull it out. So you have to be really careful about your dry time. You might need to speed it up a little bit, with a better towel. And then, of course, dealing with the water issues that you have with where you live. But it's a really nuanced issue. There's so many layers. So
that's true. And one thing I wanted to say, which I was meant to say earlier, is I think sometimes when I talk about yellowing on my blog or in my YouTube channel, sometimes people think they're thinking of people who have hair that's naturally blondish gray. There are people who have naturally yellowish.
That's a good thing to talk about. I mean, and this is a really good place to talk about that. I have a little bit of brown still in my hair, so my hair can cast yellow in different light. It can, like I was talking about earlier, that little brown streak around my white streak can make my white streak look yellow. I can be standing in front of the window in my kitchen, and I'll look down and think my hair is yellow because I live in a brown house and the neighbor next to me has a brown house, and the space between has sunlight coming through. So that window casts this really warm brown light. And so you can stand there and get obsessed about it. And it's the light, it has nothing to do with your actual hair. Yeah. But those of us with the browner pigments, okay, or the yellow pigments, blonde, are typically going to have more warm toned gray.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at paint, if you just go to the paint store and you look at the whites, they have cool white, they have warm white, they have neutral white, they have off whites. And I mean, who knew until you walk into a paint store that there's 400 different colors of white?
Right.
Because white has so much that can alter it. And your natural color, the clothing you wear, the light that you're in. I mean, my hair just changed colors because the sun finally has almost gone all the way down. So I've lost that warm light from the window. But it is something that we don't often think about when we're thinking about our hair. We think of it in terms of color or no color.
Right.
And that means it's either brown or gray. And that gray is white or salt and pepper. And that's it. There's no other colors, but there's so many. I mean, it's very much what you started with.
That's why I wanted to mention for everybody watching this, Joli has a beautiful slideshow with all the different shades of gray hair. And it's so interesting because like my hair really is more silver than some people I know. But other people, like my friend Michelle Ray, has her, and I don't think she was a blonde. I think she was maybe a brownish brunette, a lighter brown brunette.
I think Michelle was, if we're thinking of the same person, I think her hair was brown, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was brown, right? But it wasn't black. It was brown.
No, I think it was brown. Yeah. Because
her hair, her gray hair, her natural color is all over more of a blondish gray. And she has people insisting to her face that her hair is not gray, but it is, you know, it's just her version of gray is a little more blonde than other people's.
So there's an explanation for this. Of course, I know what it is. Let me geek out for a second. All right. We have a few more minutes before we've hit our hour mark here, but okay. So there are two pigments that make up the color of hair. One is light and one is dark. The dark pigment makes up blacks and browns and darker reds. Mm-hmm. The lighter pigment makes up blondes and redheads. Mm-hmm. So depending on how much pigment you have of one or the other determines the shade of your hair, how dark it is or how light it is, and whether it has red tones or cool black tones. Okay. Right. So as we age, we think of pigment loss as all or nothing, that once you lose pigment, it turns white. Well, that's not necessarily true. You could lose the dark pigment in your hair and still have that lighter pigment that is the blonde or red. And guess what color your hair is going to look like? It's going to have a reddish tone or a yellow tone. So there's a lot of people that have red hair that their gray hair looks blonde because they've lost the shade of darker pigment that picked up all the red tones.
Right.
So they lose that darker shade. They lose that darker pigment first, and all that's left is that lighter, blonder pigment, and their hair looks blonde.
Yeah, it's so interesting how colors react against each other, because I think I told you on one side of my head is, I can't remember now, I'm all screwed up today. One side of my hair is lighter than the other because I have fewer strands of dark hair underneath. Mm-hmm. So it makes it look whiter, and the other side looks darker because I've still got a lot of darker hair under that, you know?
Yeah, so this pigment loss can happen all over your head. It can happen in sections. That's why we have streaks, or we have one part that's darker than the other. The nape is often the last to go. Like it kind of goes in this pattern like this, where it starts here and moves its way back. Some people have, you know, a dark streak back here in solid white hair, just one dark streak at the crown of their head. I consider that kind of like birthmarks. Like it's like this mark that it will stay with you for a long time. It'll take the longest to actually fade out that pigment and turn completely white. And some people go their whole life with what maybe that streak or whatever will stay with them their whole life. My mother is 79 and her whole head is white, except for the very back of her neck is still this dark color.
I love that. I like how unique it is. Like I've told you, I've been to some of these events in Los Angeles with a bunch of women with silver hair, you know, using silver hair as a catch-all term for people with unpigmented hair. And that's what's so fun is, first of all, you've never seen such shiny hair in your life compared to everybody else, because it doesn't dull like dark hair does, like dyed hair does. But also, you know, you've got women with silver hair, you got women with white hair, you got women with just money what do you call it?
The money pieces.
Money pieces where they've got like white hair here and their natural hair is dark back here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just love seeing all the different patterns and shades. It's fun.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point to make, is your hair color is your hair color.
Right.
And comparing it to somebody that has perfectly white hair and they somehow miraculously managed to never have issues with yellowing or discoloration, it's like a unicorn. You know, you can't compare yourself to something that's almost mythical.
Right.
There's very few people that can have pure white hair and it be pure white and never have any issues. It's
right.
just, it's a very difficult thing to navigate. So when I do these consultations, this is part of what I discuss, because I think it's important to understand that you can chase a problem and drive yourself crazy and spend a lot of money, and it might be your natural color. It might be that's what you're working with. There are some people that have health issues where it can actually turn yellow a couple of inches from the root. And those it's actually the hair itself is turning yellow from the health condition, not from any external factor. So that one's a struggle. That one's really tough. That one does require you to decide whether you want to continue to have gray hair or if you would like to have it toned on a regular basis. That one's pretty rare. I only have seen that a couple of times throughout the 10 years that I've been doing this, but it's something that does happen, and it's just a natural anomaly. I don't really fully understand why it's happening. I don't think anybody really does. It's just something that changes with the hair as it has emerged from their head.
You know, there's always something we all want to be perfect, or maybe that's just me because I'm a type A personality, but it's like, yeah, this quest for perfection, the best thing is just to try to live with what we have and be happy with what we have. You know?
I mean, obviously there's the things that we would like to have control over, what, you know, and there's the ideal that we have in our minds. So then it's about compromising with yourself. What is the ideal thing for you?
Right.
You know, my little oxidative stress tinge to my hair, that's fine. You know, like it's fine. And I get for you what your frustration was. I'm doing everything right. Like I have, you know, you kept thinking, I don't have heat damage. I don't have sun damage. I don't, you know, and it can be where you get kind of stuck in that loop about, I'm doing everything right. Why does this keep happening?
Yeah.
So
I think that's what was driving me crazy, is like, I'm advising people too about this stuff. So like, why is this not working? So I'm so glad.
What? Katie, we're real people, and we have these issues too.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's a fair thing to say. Is I think I mentioned in our last video that, you know, we compare ourselves to what we see online because we get to see what's online and other people and influencers and in the community, other women with silver hair, and they're in our realm all the time. We get to see them all the time, right? So it's easy to start comparing ourselves to that. And what you may not know is they might put a little filter on, or they might be using purple shampoo, or they might be having their hair toned at the salon. You just don't know. So I think it's not fair to compare, because you just get in that cycle of it and you can't get yourself out of it. And
that's true.
You're beautiful and unique, and I love your hair. So
thank you. I love your hair.
Thank you. We look like twins today. We didn't mention that.
We do. I put on because I love that color. All of a sudden, the name escapes me. Burgundy? Is it burgundy?
No, this is actually like a really dark magenta.
Okay, it might be my screen. Yeah, I think it's my screen.
I don't know.
Yeah, now I can see.
My lights too, they've changed because of the sun going down. So
and now my light's all kind of crazy here, so hopefully people can see.
Well, I have to apologize for that. It's just my office faces west, and Katie and I could only meet today in the evening, and so here we are. The sun went down.
And I still haven't figured out my lighting situation completely, so one of these days I'll nail it.
So if you enjoyed this episode and you would like to stay connected with us, Katie and I both have newsletters that you can sign up to. You can subscribe to both of our channels. And if you really liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it. It'll help both of our channels, and it'll help get this information out there to other Silver Sisters in the community.
And thank you so much for being here with us. And if you have any ideas for what you would like us to talk about in the future, please put them in the comment section below.
Yes, and if you have any questions for me, please leave those in the comment section below and I'll be happy to answer them if I can. And until we see you next time, shine on.